This tutorial demonstrates the geometry cleanup and meshing using SimXpert. A CAD model of a vehicle shock tower needs to be meshed with shell elements. There are various features in the geometry that are not necessary in the finite element model and need to be ignored in order to avoid a poor mesh. The final mesh will need to be checked for connectivity and consistency. Our objectives are to clean up the CAD geometry and to control the mesh on the surfaces. We start by importing our parasolid from the directory it has been saved in. Now we can change the view as desired by selecting View, Regions, and then View. And then select the view of your choice. There are some unwanted internal edges that will influence your mesh. Zoom into these edges. We will first mesh the parasolid without removing these edges. This is a thin object, therefore surface meshing is selected. Select the Select All tab amongst the picking filters. Select your mesh size, then click OK. As it can be seen, there are very small elements along the edges. These elements are not needed, thus we will suppress these edges. Pressing Ctrl and Z will undo the meshing operation. Now we will eliminate these edges via suppression. In the Multi section, select Unsuppress and Curve. Select the curves. Select Force Suppression, then click OK. Right-click on your toolbar and ensure that the Geometry Graphics toolbar is active. This toolbar is clearly shown here. Now click on the Suppressed Edges button to show and hide the suppressed edges. We are now going to mesh the object again. Repeat the meshing operation as was done earlier. To ensure that meshing is adequate at complex geometries, zoom into these geometries and use the following methods to modify the mesh. The first option is to select Modify in the Automesh section. Select the curve you wish to modify, then click Apply. You can either increase or decrease the number of elements on the curve until you are satisfied. The other option is to use seeding. Under the Automesh section, select Seed. Select the curve you wish to modify, then specify the number of elements that the curve should be divided into. Click OK to apply the changes. You can now select the Mesh Control Points button to show or hide the mesh points. Select Update found in the Automesh section to show your new mesh. You can also refine your mesh by selecting Refine in the Edit section. Select your elements by changing your pointer to the sketching pick and then encircling the necessary elements. Now specify the maximum edge length of the new elements. We are now going to split an element. Turn on FE Shaded with edges to easily view the elements. Zoom onto a section of the model. Under Edit, select Split. Select Quad from the element type list. Change the pointer type back to default and select an element to modify. Try a few different patterns and when you are satisfied, click OK. To check the connectivity of a crack, select the Cracks button from the Edit group. Now check Fix Cracks and click OK. The next step is to remesh. Select Remesh from the Edit group. Once again, select the elements with the sketching pick. Apply by clicking OK. Click View, Clear Highlights to clear the current highlights. To display the element normals, select Normals from the Edit group. For the elements, click the Select All button and click OK. If you want all the normals to face in the same direction, for instance for a pressure vessel, change the pointer back to the default pick. Then click on Normals again and change the action type to Edit. Change the method to Alignment. Select a reference element and select All for the elements. Then click OK. Hide the normals by using the same method. Now change the view back to wireframe. To highlight FE boundaries, select View and click Highlight Boundaries. Now, all the free boundaries in the mesh have been highlighted. Therefore, if any internal edges were highlighted, it would indicate a crack in the mesh. This concludes the geometry cleanup and meshing tutorial for SimXpert. Thank you for completing this tutorial. This tutorial is brought to you by STEC, Engineering Technology for Better Business.